My husband's adopted sister never shopped online. She would always ask me to buy things for her. But every time she transferred money, it was always exactly $20. She was the daughter of my father-in-law's fallen comrade, and the whole family pitted her for being an orphan. So whether it was skincare that cost hundreds, or a phone and handbag that cost thousands, I would cover the difference myself, only accepting the $20 she sent. Until one day my husband Nicholas asked me, his tone casual but pointed, "When Tessa asks you to buy things for her, you buy them at the market price, right? She's so naive. You never send her a receipt. She wouldn't even know if you were pocketing the difference." And Tessa just smiled helplessly, making no move to explain. My in-law shot me suspicious glances. A chill went down my spine. But I didn't say anything. So when she asked me to buy New Year's gifts for the whole family, a shopping list that totaled nearly $2,000, I accepted her usual payment, and then bought a pile of trinkets from the dollar store. At the lavish New Year's Eve dinner, everyone stared at the pile of nail clippers, keychains, and stainless steel tumblers, completely bewildered. I smiled brightly. "These are the New Year's gifts Tessa picked out for everyone. Please take your pick." Tessa's smile was strained. "Ashley, this isn't the time for jokes. These aren't the gifts I wanted to give her." Voice began to tremble, and she looked at my husband, Nicholas, and my in-laws with wounded eyes. "Tessa uses her bonus every year to buy everyone lovely gifts. She's never bought junk like this," my mother-in-law said, putting down her chopsticks. "Ashley, you must have made a mistake." A relative chimed in, "Yes. Tessa has always been such a grateful girl. The gifts in previous years were nothing like this." I knew they wanted to say junk too, and they were right. In past years, Tessa's gifts had included imported candies, gourmet snacks, expensive perfumes, and fine liquors. This year, the nicest item was a plain gray stainless steel tumbler. It wasn't even in the same league. "No mistake," I said, my voice firm. "This is it." Tessa shut up from her chair. "Ashley, why are you doing this to me? Did I do something to upset you?" There it was again. Whenever something happened, she always twisted it to be about her upsetting me, painting me as the cruel bully of the family. I was about to show them the transfer record when Nicholas, who had been scowling beside Tessa, slammed his hand on the table. "Ashley, I've had enough of you. Tessa clearly transferred you $2,000 to buy gifts. What is this garbage? This stuff isn't even worth $20. I've let it slide. When you've pocketed the difference from Tessa's other purchases, but deliberately humiliating her like this in front of everyone, you've gone too far." At his words, the expressions of the relatives around the table shifted. My mother-in-law pointed a finger at me. "Ashley, I thought you were a kind and generous person for helping Tessa all this time. How could you do something so despicable?" My father-in-law cleared his throat, his eyes filled with contempt. "Does the Pierce family not provide for you? Are you so desperate for money that you cheat a war orphan?" I ignored their accusations and looked directly at Tessa, my expression innocent. "Tessa transferred me $20 to buy gifts for all of you. This is what I could get." "Ashley, how can you lie like that? I sent you $2,000. It was my entire annual bonus." Tessa cried, her eyes darting nervously to Nicholas. He immediately backed her up. "It was $2,000. I knew about her bonus, and I knew she asked you to buy the gifts. Stop making things up." His declaration was so forceful that everyone believed him. Tessa is the daughter of a hero. She would never be so deceitful. But Ashley is a businesswoman. Profit is in her blood. I just never thought she'd stoop to this. I raised my hand, cutting off Nicholas's uncle, and placed my phone on the table. "See for yourselves how much she sent me." Tessa froze, her first instinct to snatch the phone. But Nicholas's younger cousin was faster. He looked at the screen and burst out laughing, then passed the phone around for everyone to see. Nicholas was the last to look. The righteous indignation on everyone's faces vanished. "Tessa, you really did only send Ashley $20. A muscle twitched in Tessa's cheek. She forced a laugh. "Oh, did I? I didn't even realize she." She slid up next to me, linking her arm through mine. "I'm so sorry, Ashley. I'm used to being frugal, so I'm not in the habit of making large transfers. I must have made a mistake. Please don't be mad. I'll send you the $2,000 right now." She pulled out her phone, a sly smile on her face. I was about to refuse, but Nicholas pulled her away, making her put her phone down. "Why should you pay her, Ashley? Tessa only made one mistake. You could have just covered the difference, but instead you chose to embarrass her in front of the whole family. What are your intentions? How much have you skimmed off her over the years? It's got to be more than $2,000 by now, right?" he accused. Tessa murmured from the side. "It's okay, Nick. We're family. It doesn't matter." I laughed coldly, watching their little performance. What was this? Were they really going to brand me a thief who cheated? A war orphan with no proof at all? My gaze fell on Tessa. She shrank behind Nicholas, her guilt obvious. He, of course, thought she was frightened by my stare. You know how hard Tessa's life has been, he snapped. She wasn't born with a silver spoon like you. She only started to have a decent life when she came to live with us. And even then, she's always been so careful not to be a burden. We all promised to treat her like our own daughter. But you, her monthly salary is barely anything. And you still have the nerve to cheat her? Do you have a conscience? Are you that desperate for money? His words grew uglier. The looks from the others grew colder. Tessa pretended to intervene. Nick, please don't fight with Ashley because of me.
I'll be fine.
She dabbed at her eyes, darting glances at me. I had to laugh. This was exactly what she wanted. Nicholas and I fighting over her. Then she would play the victim. And he would spend the night comforting her, sometimes staying away for days. This little drama had played out countless times over the years before. I tried not to think too much of it. I respected her father's sacrifice. I wanted to believe in the integrity of a hero's daughter. Every time Nicholas accused me of being unfair to her, I would wonder if I was being intolerant, and so I would bite my tongue. But now I was done being silent. I looked at the circle of relatives who saw me as a petty, greedy merchant. Since you're so sure I've been cheating her, let's settle the accounts. The moment I said that, Tessa's panic was palpable. She quickly tried to smooth things over. Settle what? It's New Year's Eve. Let's not make a scene over something so small. Ashley, she said, moving closer and whispering in my ear. Making a big deal out of this won't be good for anyone. It's just about money. My godparents will never say I'm in the wrong. And you don't want to burn bridges with my brother.
Do you?
A sarcastic smile touched my lips. This was the innocent, sweet girl Nicholas and my in-laws adored when they weren't looking. She didn't even bother with the act. Tessa, you don't have to speak up for her. My father-in-law said, his face Graham. If Nicholas hadn't said something, I would have never known how much you've been suffering. By her side all these years. Settle the accounts.
Does she dare?
I've always said a merchant's daughter was not fit to be a peer. You can't wash away the stench of money. She's just like her greedy father. The contempt in his voice when he mentioned my father made my blood boil. My father was an honest businessman who had donated millions over the years. My father-in-law himself had taken no small amount from him under the guise of charity. And now we were the greedy ones. I clenched my jaw and slammed my phone on the table. I have a clear conscience, Tessa. Today, in front of all our relatives, we're going to settle this. If I have taken a single cent more than I was owed, I will pay you back tenfold.
You.
Tessa blinked at me frantically from behind everyone's backs. I ignored her. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She twisted the hem of her dress. Nicholas put a protective arm around her. An intimate gesture that stung my eyes. Ashley, you don't need to threaten Tessa. Every transfer, every payment leaves a record.
If you want to settle this, fine.
His support only made Tessa more flustered. Then my mother-in-law sighed. It's New Year's Eve. This is no way to behave. Her words seemed to give Tessa an idea. She composed herself.
Godmother is right, Ashley.
There's no need for all this little extra money here and there. Doesn't matter. In a little while, I'll transfer you a few thousand as a thank you for all your help over the years. Today is about family and celebration. Let's not ruin it. Before I could speak, her strategic retreat had already provoked Nicholas. Tessa, you can't be so naive. Even if you let it go, a person like her won't appreciate it. She's taking advantage of your good nature. She should be the one paying you back. Settle the accounts. Nicholas scoffed, his arm tightening around Tessa.
Fine.
If it shuts you up and stops you from ruining New Year's, go ahead. Show us how petty you are. I didn't look at him. I looked at the TV screen on the wall, which was currently connected to the household network. Without a word, I mirrored my phone screen to the television. What are you doing?
Tessa squeaked.
She tried to lunge for the remote, but I kicked it under the sofa. You wanted to see the truth, I said, my voice eerily calm. Let's look at the last 3 years. Since you claim to be so frugal. I opened my banking app. I had tagged every transaction related to Tessa under a specific folder labeled Charity. January 14th, I read aloud. Tessa sent me a photo of a limited edition emerald necklace. Price, $4,500. She transferred me $20. Memo. Treats for me. I scrolled to the credit card receipt. $4,500 paid to Tiffany & Company. February 10th. A designer handbag for her interview. Price, $3,200. Transfer received, $20.
March.
The spa weekend for her and her friends. She told you all I treated them. The bill was $1,800. Transfer received, $20. The room went silent. The scrolling list went on and on. Skincare, shoes, a laptop, concert tickets. The total at the bottom of the spreadsheet wasn't a few thousand. It was $142,400. That's impossible, Nicholas stammered, staring at the screen. You doctored these. Nicholas, I said, turning to him. These are bank-certified statements. But here is the kicker. I clicked on a different folder. Tessa, do you remember when you told Nicholas you needed $10,000 for your biological mother's grave restoration? And then another $5,000 for the orphanage donation? Tessa's face went from pale to a sickly gray. Ashley, stop.
Please.
We're family. I checked, I said, pulling up an email from the cemetery. The grave hasn't been touched in a decade. And the orphanage? They haven't received a donation from a Tessa in 5 years. Where did the money go, Tessa? The relatives were whispering now. My father-in-law looked at the screen, then at Tessa. Tessa? Is this true? Nicholas gave you that money from the joint account. Tessa started to hyperventilate, real tears finally streaming down her face. I was scammed. I was too embarrassed to tell anyone. I sent the money to online investors, and they took it. I was just trying to make money to help the family. Nicholas immediately melted. She was scammed? My God, Tessa, why didn't you tell me? He glared at me with renewed hatred. You see? She's a victim, and you're dragging her through the mud publicly. I laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. A scam? I repeated. Is the scammer perhaps the man you've been checking into the Ritz-Carlton with every Friday night? The one driving the Porsche leased in my husband's name? Nicholas froze. What? I tapped the screen one last time. Photos. Tessa, not looking naive or frugal, but dressed in the clothes I paid for, kissing a man who looked like a wannabe model. Meet Brad, I said. He's an unemployed DJ. And for the last 2 years, he's been living off the New Year's bonus Tessa supposedly spends on gifts. The silence in the dining room was heavy enough to crush bones. Tessa screamed. Not a cry of sorrow, but a shriek of pure rage. You stalked me. You crazy bitch. You hired a private investigator. I didn't have to, I said, picking up my purse. You're careless. You posted photos on a private Instagram account. You forgot I follow your friend Sarah, who reposted them. Nicholas looked like he had been hit by a truck. He looked at the photos, then at Tessa, then at me. Ashley, he started, his voice trembling. We need to talk about this privately. No, my mother-in-law interjected, her face red with embarrassment, but her pride still intact. Ashley, turn that off immediately. We will handle Tessa. But you, spying on family? Airing dirty laundry? This is a betrayal of trust.
You have to hear.
Even now, even with the proof that their hero's daughter was a thief and a liar, I was the villain for exposing it. You're right, I said. It is a betrayal, but not by me. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick envelope. I tossed it onto the table among the dollar store nail clippers. What is this? Nicholas asked. Divorce papers, I said. Nicholas laughed nervously. Ashley, don't be dramatic. You've made your point. Tessa made mistakes. We'll fix it. But you can't just leave over money. You know you love me. I loved the man I thought you were. I corrected. I don't love the man who humiliates his wife to protect a liar. I don't love the family that calls my father a greedy merchant while eating the food his money bought. I looked at my father-in-law. You asked if the Pierce family provides for me? Let's answer that. I pointed around the room. This house? My father's down payment covered 60% of it. The renovation? Paid for by my stock dividends. Your car, Nicholas? My name is on the title. The country club membership? My corporate account. I took a step back. I'm the merchant's daughter, right? So, let's do business. I am liquidating my assets. I'm selling the house. I'm canceling the cards. I'm taking back the car. You can't do that, my mother-in-law shrieked. Where will we live? I'm sure Tessa can take you in. I smiled. A genuine, sharp smile. After all, she's the daughter of a hero. Surely she has some integrity to fall back on. Ashley, stop. Nicholas grabbed my arm. His grip was hard. You're my wife. You aren't going anywhere. You think anyone else will want you? A cold, calculating woman like you? I looked down at his hand, then up into his eyes. Let go, Nicholas. Or I add assault to the list of reasons for the divorce petition. He let go as if burned. Happy New Year, I said. I turned and walked out the door. Behind me, the chaos finally erupted, shouting, crying, and the sound of a stainless steel tumbler hitting the wall. The first week was a blizzard of legal motions. I didn't stay to argue. I moved into a penthouse apartment owned by my father's company. I blocked Nicholas's number, his parents' numbers, and certainly Tessa's. I communicated only through my lawyer, Mr. Sterling, a man who possessed the personality of a shark and the billing rate to match. The merchant's daughter Revenge was swift and financial. First, the credit cards. Nicholas had a supplementary card attached to my Platinum account. I didn't just cancel it. I reported it as compromised due to suspicious activity at the Ritz-Carlton, which flagged his credit score. Second, the car. Since the title was in my name, I had a repossession team pick up the Audi Q7 from his office parking lot in the middle of a workday. Nicholas had to take the bus home. Third, the house. Since I had paid the majority, the court ordered an immediate freeze on the asset. They couldn't sell it, but they couldn't afford the property taxes or the utilities without my income. About a month later, I ran into Nicholas's cousin, the one who had laughed at the phone, at a coffee shop. He tried to duck away, but I called out to him. Mike. He froze, looking terrified. Ashley. Look, I didn't mean. How is the family? I asked pleasantly, sipping my latte. Mike looked haggard. It's bad. Uncle George, my father-in-law, is furious. He had to come out of retirement to pay the electric bill. Auntie is selling her jewelry. And Nicholas? He's a mess. He's drinking a lot. He still thinks you're going to come back when you calm down. He keeps saying you're just throwing a tantrum. And Tessa? Mike's expression darkened. That's the worst part. Since you cut the money off, she's changed. She's demanding. She told Nicholas that if he really loved his sister, he'd find a way to maintain her lifestyle. She's threatening to tell people the family is abusing her if they don't give her cash. I raised an eyebrow. And Nicholas? He's still defending her. He says she's traumatized by her departure. But the boyfriend, Brad? He dumped her the second the credit card stopped working. Now she's in the house all day, screaming. Sounds festive, I said. Tell them I said hello. 3 months passed. The divorce was proceeding, but Nicholas was dragging his feet, refusing to sign. He wanted spousal support. He claimed I had financially abused him by making him dependent on my lifestyle. The audacity was almost impressive. I was focusing on my business, expanding my father's import-export empire. I felt lighter, freer than I had in years. I hadn't realized how much energy it took to constantly dim my light so Nicholas wouldn't feel insecure. One Tuesday afternoon, my receptionist buzzed me. Ms. Pierce, or Ms. Vance. There is a Mrs. Pierce here to see you. Your mother-in-law. Send her in, I said, leaning back in my leather chair. My mother-in-law, formerly a woman who wouldn't be caught dead without a fresh blowout and Chanel suit, looked diminished. Her roots were showing. Her coat was slightly worn. She sat down, clutching her handbag. Ashley, she began, her voice trembling. We need you to come home. I am home. I gestured to my office. Please. He's losing his mind. He lost his job last week. His performance was down, and he caused a scene at the office. I'm sorry to hear that. He should update his LinkedIn. She slammed her hand on the desk, reminiscent of Nicholas. Stop being so cold. We are family. Look, we admit Tessa has problems. We asked her to move out. This surprised me. Oh, she stole George's watch. His retirement watch. She pawned it. Nicholas finally saw it. He kicked her out. Good for him, I said. Too little, too late. Ashley, please. The house. The bank is threatening foreclosure if we don't catch up on the payments. You have the money. Just pay the arrears, come back, and we can be a family again. I'll even let you redecorate the guest room.
I ser det her.
The delusion was absolute. Let me redecorate? I laughed. Mrs. Pierce, you seem to forget. I am the greedy merchant's daughter. I don't give away money for free. You spent years looking down on me while living off me. Now that the tap is dry, you want the water, but you still hate the pipe. I stood up. The house will be sold. I will take my share. You will take yours, which, after debts, should be enough to rent a nice 2-bedroom apartment. Nicholas can find a job. And you can finally live within your means. It's character building. You heartless witch, she spat, standing up. Security, I said into the intercom. Escort Mrs. Pierce out. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I left my office late at night. The parking garage was dim. As I unlocked my car, a new Mercedes, bought with my own money, a shadow detached itself from a pillar. Ashley. It was Nicholas. He looked terrible. Unshaven, gaunt, clothes wrinkled. Nicholas, I said, keeping my distance, my hand gripping the pepper spray in my pocket. You're violating the restraining order. I just want to talk, he rasped. I signed the papers. You got what you wanted. I'm broke. I'm living in a motel. Are you happy? I'm indifferent, I said. Which is worse? It wasn't my fault, he shouted suddenly, his voice echoing. You manipulated everything. You made me look weak. And Tessa, she's your fault too. If you had just given her the money, she wouldn't have had to steal from us. Listen to yourself, I said, disgust curling my lip. You are a grown man blaming your ex-wife for your sister's crimes. You are pathetic. He took a step toward me, his eyes wild.
You owe me, Ashley.
You owe me for the years I wasted on you. Hey! A voice boomed. 2 security guards were running toward us. Nicholas panicked. He lunged at me, not to hit me, but to grab my purse. He was trying to rob me. I sidestepped, a move I'd learned in the self-defense classes I took after leaving him. He stumbled, crashing into the side of my car. The guards tackled him. As he was pinned to the concrete, shouting obscenities, I looked down at him. The man I had once thought was my prince. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't even a villain. He was just a leech who had lost his host. Press charges, I told the guards. The legal fallout was swift. Nicholas was charged with attempted robbery and violation of a restraining order. Because of his prior clean record, he got probation and community service, but his reputation was destroyed. No reputable firm in the city would hire him. But the real twist came from Tessa. Without Nicholas to protect her and without my money to steal, Tessa had grown desperate. She had tried to run a scam on a new family, an older couple she met at church, spinning a story about being a persecuted war orphan. Unfortunately for her, the couple's son was a prosecutor. They ran a background check. They found the fraud. They found the identity theft she had committed against Nicholas, opening loans in his name. I sat in the courtroom during her hearing. I didn't have to be there, but I wanted to see it. Tessa stood in the dock, wearing an oversized, drab sweater, trying to look like a fragile child. Your Honor, she wept. I'm just a girl who lost her father. I didn't know what I was doing. The prosecutor stood up. Your Honor, the defendant has a history of calculating fraud spanning 5 years. She embezzled over $200,000 from the Pierce family and attempted to defraud the Smiths of $50,000. This is not grief. This is a career. Tessa looked into the gallery.
She saw me.
Her eyes narrowed. For a second, the mask dropped completely, and pure venom poured out. She mouthed something at me. It's your fault. I just smiled and tapped my wrist, pointing to the time. Time's up. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraud and identity theft. 1 year later, I was hosting a New Year's Eve party at my new estate. It was a gathering of business partners, friends, and my father, who was beaming with pride. The air smelled of expensive champagne and genuine laughter. There were no hushed whispers, no judgment, no passive-aggressive comments about merchants. My phone buzzed. A notification from a block number usually goes to a spam folder, but I checked it out of curiosity. It was a voicemail from Nicholas. I stepped onto the balcony, the cold winter air biting pleasantly against my skin. I pressed play. Ashley, it's Nick. I'm working at a warehouse now. It's hard work. I saw your picture in the business journal. You look beautiful. Look, I know I messed up. I know I was wrong about Tessa. I was wrong about everything. Can we just meet for coffee? I miss you. Please. The voice was broken. Defeated. I looked out at the city lights. I thought about the $20 transfers. I thought about the pile of nail clippers. I thought about the years I spent making myself smaller so they could feel big. I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't feel sad. I pressed delete. Ashley? I turned around. A handsome man, a partner in my firm whom I had been seeing for a few months, was holding 2 glasses of wine. Everyone is waiting for the toast. I'm coming, I said, taking the glass. Everything okay? He asked, looking at the phone in my hand. Perfect, I said. Just clearing out some old junk. I walked back inside, the warmth of the room enveloping me, leaving the cold and the past firmly behind the glass door.